What is up, guys? It is Mars Sports. It is your boy, Marshall. We are doing round of 16 picks actually for both men's and women's. So, all in one today. We're going to start. I don't know, what should we start with? Let's start with the women's. Let's do the ladies first. Yeah, okay. Anyways, moving on. Let's start off with Notre Dame versus Vanderbilt. Notre Dame, they just beat Ohio State in their last game by 10 points, and it's actually an upset based on seeding. And Notre Dame, of course, is they're usually good at basketball, but they've really locked in at this tournament. I will say, like they've been really good. They made it to the Sweet 16, and I think they can move on. But they're taking on Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's been really good this year. They're 29-4. They've been insane this year. They only lost. They beat Ohio Point they beat Ohio Point in the first game, and in the second game they beat Illinois by 18. So I think this could be an interesting game. I'm going to say Vanderbilt wins at 61% go with them as well. And then North Carolina versus UConn. There's matchups happening in football this year, but sorry, North Carolina, they've been really good this year. They're 28-7. They've 80% winning rate, which is pretty good. They beat West Illinois by 31 their game, and they beat Maryland by 8. So there's that. Two basketball powerhouses, so it'd be very interesting to see what happens. North Carolina's so good in this tournament so far. They're going to take on UConn. UConn's crushed everyone they've played so far. Beat up UTSA, and then they beat up Syracuse by even more. So this UConn team looks scary. They've looked scary all season. They've not lost a single game this year. 36-0. It's pretty incredible. North Carolina, maybe they'll give their worth their money, but I do think UConn will win this pretty handily. 84% go with them as well. Now I got Minnesota versus UCLA, a rematch because this is an in-conference game. Minnesota they had two very close games so far. The Green Bay one doesn't look that close, but Green Bay pretty much was leading the whole time till the end, and then Minnesota finally woke up and beat by a decent amount. And then they beat Ole Miss on the last second shot. But let's see how these two teams play each other this season. UCLA beat them by 18. Okay, that's not the worst in the world. As UCLA, they're taking UCLA won their game by 19 points as they beat Oklahoma State. So there's that. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. But they also beat Cal Baptist to start the tournament. So yeah, UCLA is one of the contenders to win it all. Leonard, go away. But I'm going to say UCLA wins this one. 73% go with them as well. Oh, hey. Yeah, but it's a rematch. Anything can happen. So there's that. But, let's move on to the next one. Sorry, my dog's just been trying to get my attention so badly. And then now we got Duke versus LSU. So apparently the dude that has a perfect bracket still, the one person left has a perfect bracket in women's, has Duke win this game. Yes, there's a perfect bracket remaining still. Duke has been really good this year. They had a slow start, and they actually one of the teams they lost to is LSU. But they've gotten really good as of late. They beat Baylor by 23, so they've been really good this year. They really started to get better as season went along. But they're taking on LSU. LSU might be the hottest team in college basketball right now, at least for the women's. They just beat up Texas Tech and broke an NCAA record for most triple-digit points games, or most games with triple-digit points scored, breaking Long Island University's record, or Long Beach. I forgot who it was, but LSU though they've been really good lately. So yeah, that offense gets rolling. That's for sure. Their defense actually much better than the last game. So yeah, but I think Duke could give them a good run for the money. It's a rematch. LSU won this one earlier this season by pretty sure 18 or something like that. By 16s, but it was actually at Duke. So there's that. But I'm gonna say LSU wins this one. 72% go with them as well. We'll see what happens. That's a rematch. Like I said, anything can happen. Why do they make LSU play at 9 p.m. though? That's my question. I know it's Sacramento, but still. Why don't you just make UCLA play that late? Duke's not even in Western time zone. Or Pacific Coast. Anyways, now Now I got Louisville versus Michigan. Louisville's been really good. They beat Bama in a very close game in their last round. Thank you. And after beating Vermont by 20, so they've been good this tournament. They move on to Sweet 16, but they're taking Michigan. Michigan beat up Holy Cross. They beat NC State by 29, so they've been really good lately. Yeah, there's that. Overall, I think this could be a solid game, but I'm going to say Michigan wins this one. 70% goes on as well. I'm going to say Michigan State, but Michigan. Now I got Kentucky versus Texas, a rematch, ladies and gentlemen, as this is an in-conference matchup. As Kentucky has been rolling this tournament so far, which is kind of scary because they beat LSU. Last time they played them. As they've been really good so far. They've already played Texas. They only lost them by 11, so there's that. But Kentucky beat West Virginia by 1 point in their last game. They beat James Madison by 15 in the game before that. So there's that. But all the schools in Virginia, now you're going to go to Texas. Texas beat up Oregon last game, and then they scored 100 on them. And then they also beat up on Missouri State in the first game. But I think Kentucky give them a run for their money. I'm going to say Texas wins this one, though. Again, shall I say. 79% go with them as well. You got a lot of rematches in this. Is Michigan-Louisville a rematch? Just curious. No, but close enough. And it's another rematch. This is an SEC rematch. As Oklahoma and South Carolina will be playing each other once again. Oklahoma's actually one of the only teams that South Carolina has lost to this year. As they actually beat South Carolina in overtime at home. There's that. Oklahoma's been really good this year. Had a few inconsistencies throughout the year, like they got beat up by LSU, I think twice, but they've been really good in tournaments so far. They beat Idaho by 30, and then Michigan State by 6. There's that. They're taking on South Carolina. South Carolina beat the other USC and beat up the other USC in their last game. Also beat the snot out of Southern. So, but both these teams, I think this ought to be a good game. But South Carolina, I think, will be in a revenge mode. So I do think South Carolina wins this one this time. 77% go to them as well. But Oklahoma knows how to beat them, so they can do it again. Now we got Virginia versus TCU. Is this a rematch? There's a lot of rematches, so I'm just curious. No, but Virginia's 22-11 so far. As even after losing some games towards the end of the season, they beat Arizona State by 2. Not to mention, they had a playing game to get here. Beat Georgia by 9. They also beat Iowa by 8. Who Iowa's really good, and I believe they're a 2 seed, which that's incredible how they beat them. So there's that. They're taking on TCU, who won a very close game against Washington in overtime after beating up UC San Diego. So there's that. Both these teams have been really good, and I think it could go either way, to be honest with you. But in my opinion, I do think TCU will get the jump on them. It's just TCU. I think Virginia could beat them, but I think TCU will be good in this game. 72% got them as well. It could go either way though. Now let's move on to men's. Now we got all these games are at night. Interesting. Then we got Texas versus Purdue. Texas, you could argue, is like the quote-unquote Cinderella story. I say that quote-unquote because I don't consider Texas a Cinderella, to be honest with you, because they're a powerhouse on a lot of things. But they're 11 seed, and they had a play-in game to get here. They beat NC State by 2, beat BYU by 8, and they beat Gonzaga by 6. There's that. But they were playing one of the hottest teams in college basketball in Purdue, who beat Miami by 10 the last game, Miami of Florida specifically. And then after being Queens by 33, there's that. But Purdue's been really good lately. Texas could actually give them a good game considering how Texas has been lately. But I'm going to say Purdue wins this one. 67% go with them as well. So all you 5-year-olds out there are going to really laugh really hard. I'm sorry. Now I got Iowa-Nebraska, a little rivalry here, at least in football. This is a rivalry week game. As both these teams have played each other twice this year. As that's interesting. They actually split series here. Nebraska beat them won the first one by. Yeah, but Nebraska beat them by 5, and then Iowa beat them by 9 to end the season. So they were at. Nebraska lost by 5, and then Iowa lost by 9. But to be fair, they won at each of their home locations. So it'll be a neutral site this time. I'm interested to see what happens. I think both these teams are really good. Iowa just beat why are they white now? Iowa just beat Florida in a very close game, and that's pretty insane because I actually predicted that upset from the beginning. I stuck with my word, and it happened. But Nebraska's really good. They just beat Vandy off the last second shots. There's that. I'm actually going to say Nebraska wins, so 61% go to them as well. I think it'll be a very close game. Now we got Arkansas versus Arizona. This ought to be a good game. Arkansas won the SEC, of course. They won the last weekend to beat Hawaii by 19. And High Point gave them a really good run for their money. And this is the same High Point team that beat Wisconsin. As they actually won by 6. So there's that. But Arkansas is really good. So there's that. But they are taking on Arizona. Arizona's been so good this year. They beat LIU by a lot, and then they beat 44. Then they beat Utah State by 12. Utah State actually gave a decent run for their money, but Arizona closed in the end. Overall, I think this would be a good game. I think Arkansas could actually compete pretty well against Arizona. I'm going to say Arizona wins. 67% go with them as well. Now I got Illinois versus Houston. Illinois, they've been great this year. They beat Penn by 35. And then they beat Virginia Commonwealth by 21. Who actually ended up being North Carolina, so there's that. But they are taking on Houston. Houston's been really good this year. They won their last. They've beat up everyone so far in this tournament. They beat Idaho by 29, and they also beat A&M by 29. There's that, but this ought to be. I think Illinois probably come closer than 29. So there's that. But I'm gonna say Houston wins. 60% go with them as well. I mean, Houston is looking to get back there this year, obviously. And then now we got St. John's versus Duke. St. John's just beat Kansas in a 2-point game, and that's a very good Kansas team they beat. St. John's has been really good this year. They did kind of get blown out in the conference tournament. They beat UNI in the first round by 16, and they beat Kansas by 2. Yeah, they're playing Duke, and Duke, I will say, looked a lot better in their last game compared to Siena. They only beat Siena by 6. They were pretty much down the whole time, and then till the end, and then they handily beat TCU by 23. That's a good TCU team as well. There's that, but Duke St. John's, that'd be interesting. I think this is a good two powerhouses going at each other. If I'm gonna say Duke wins this one, 58% go with them as well. They're a freaking powerhouse, bro. And then Alabama versus Michigan. As we have a Rose Bowl rematch and a Rely Quest Bowl rematch, and actually Michigan won both of those. Alabama's actually gone further than I thought in this tournament because I thought they lose to Akron in the second round because I thought Akron would be the Cinderella this year. But they beat Hofstra by 20, and then they beat Texas Tech by 25. So they've been really good so far. But they got taken on Michigan. They were really good. They beat Howard by 21, and then they beat St. Louis by 3. So their offense came really good. 23. They beat St. Louis by the Billikens. But Michigan, they've been really good this year. They're, of course, in that 1 seed. Alabama, I think, will be very good in this game. I'm willing to be a lot of points scored, but I'm going to say Michigan is going to win this one. 76% on this one. Surprised that lopsided, just considering the circumstances. And then Michigan State versus UConn. Michigan State's been really good this year. They after kind of selling at the end of the season, they beat North Dakota State by 25, and they beat Louisville by 8. So yeah, they've been a great team this year as they've really gotten going in the tournament. They're taking UConn though, and UConn just beat Furman by 11, but they looked a lot better in their last game against UCLA by 16, which ironically could be what the championship is in women's. So there's that. I didn't even really make that realization until later on. But UConn and Michigan State, so that'd be a very good game, and I think this will be very close. But at the end of the day, I think UConn's really gotten rolling ever since the Billy Furman. I'll take UConn. 45% go with them as well. Michigan State will give them a run for their money, though. And then Tennessee versus Iowa State. Tennessee's has been really good this year. They've really gotten going to the tournament, too. They beat Ohio by 22. And then they also beat Virginia by 7. And that's a very good Virginia team that got, pretty sure they got like the 3rd seed. Yeah, but they're taking on Iowa State, and Iowa State's been great this year. 29-7. They beat Kentucky in the last game by 19. Kentucky, I think, had a close one at one point, but then in the end, and they beat at Tennessee State by 34. So there's that. But they had that game from the beginning, basically. So yeah, but this would be a close game. I think Iowa State wins 73% of them, so I might have just picked all the top seeds somehow. But there's that. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and goodbye. See you next one. Peace.